Hello listeners, it's Mark here with a special SLP short that combines our recent My Rugby League story series of shows with insight on the revamped and relaunched Rugby League Record Keepers Club. After the recent Rugby League Records website relaunch, I had the chance to speak with Neil Ormston, ringleader and coordinator of the club's new lease of life. First, we hear about his own personal Rugby League story before we look into the past, present and future of the Rugby League Record Keepers Club. Stick around too for details of how you can get involved if you're interested. But here's Neil. Hi Neil, welcome to Super League Pod.
Hi Mark, good to be here.
So we've got you on mainly to talk about the Rugby League Record Keepers Club. But we've recently been running our My Rugby League story series, so kind of to give people a bit of a background to yourself as a Rugby League fan before we find out about the Record Keepers Club. Do you want to sort of tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into Rugby League and your sort of early memories of Rugby League and up to your favourite recent memories?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a Warrington fan, exiled in Leeds now. So I was born and raised in Warrington, which is probably the only logical reason to end up being a Warrington fan, I think. So I started watching in the late 80s with a kind of standard introduction, I guess. My dad taking me down to games. I think my first match was in '88 against Bramley in the John Player Trophy at the time. And yeah, got taken to games on and off and kind of got the introduction to the family route, as is quite common, I think. Remember in 1990, we had a cup run. I think we went to the game against Trafford Borough earlier in one of the early rounds. And I think my dad made a throwaway comment at the time that if we got to Wembley that year, he promised that he'd take us, not expecting that would ever actually happen. And lo and behold, it did. So true to his word, he did take us down that year. So we won't say too much about the final, I guess. It didn't really go as we would have expected. Probably went as we expected, but maybe not as we hoped.
my first Wembley was 98, so... I had a bad first Wembley as well.
Yeah, recent Wembley experiences have been much more enjoyable, I think. So I think I've probably erased the memory of that. But it was quite a big thing for Warrington at the time. That was the first cup final in 15 years. So it was a big event in the town. I was only 10 at the time, but I still kind of remember getting the train down and all the fans and the approach down Wembley Way. So that was a great day. Got to shake Bob Jackson's hand as well. We were on the front row of the new terrible plastic seats which had just been installed when they made the stadium all-seater. So I remember Des Drummond spacking Iro right in front of us as well. So there were a few good memories from there. Maybe not the result, but the whole day was a pretty good experience. I think probably rode that kind of Warrington roller coaster, not really having a great deal of success probably in my early days of watching until probably my kind of big watershed moment, and the thing that probably really got me hooked for life was the 93-4 season. So that was the year that a combination of events really. We signed Jiffy, signed Jonathan Davis from Widnes, competed at the top of the league all the way through. But probably more importantly, the club had a great initiative where juniors could get season tickets for £10. So that was, a big thing for getting young kids kind of hooked on kind of going games regularly, which, I did. And my sister used to go along with my dad. So that became my kind of bi-weekly routine, really, of going down to Wilderspool. Kind of kept up with the season ticket for a good number of years after that. And then, by that point, I'd moved away from Warrington, was living in Leeds and working, but still used to kind of come back for games. Met my, was girlfriend, now wife, used to drag her back to matches as well, got her involved. We got her a season ticket. our first holiday away was centred around rugby as well. So we played London down in Carcassonne in 2001 when
course, yeah.
Ben Westwood and Nat Wood made their debuts actually in that match. And I struck upon the idea of us having our first holiday away together and badged it as a trip to Paris. So we had 4 days in Paris, and then while we were there, had a little jaunt down to the south of France, and lo and behold, ended up in Carcassonne just in time to watch the match against London. So that was good. And actually carried on kind of coming back quite regularly for games until other things were maybe meant that season tickets were not quite as good value for money, and actually stopped getting a season ticket in 2009. So my last season ticket for a while was 2008. And obviously at that point, we then all of a sudden decided to start getting good again.
So you can't get a season ticket now because you started winning finals.
Well, I have got one this year on the crazy logic that it might be a better way for getting in for games if they have restricted capacity. So this is the first year in 13 that I've had a season ticket. And Warrington's success has been very opposingly linked to my ownership of season tickets. We won nothing for the however many years I had one, and then the year that I stopped getting one was our first cup final when in 30 odd years. I haven't had one for the past 13 years, and we've not done too bad.
So you've heard it here first then, people. Warrington aren't winning the cup this year.
I take absolutely no responsibility if that's the case. Maybe it's time to switch cups to grand finals, and I'll take the glory for that one if that one comes off.
But you have had some great cup final experiences in the last 12 years as a Warrington fan. So what stands out from those occasions for you, Neil?
I think there's all of them for different reasons, I suppose. So the first one was obviously fantastic, finally seeing us win something. I remember giving my dad a big hug at the end of the match and saying, I thought we might never see this day of us actually winning something. So we'd been there through the highs and a lot of lows. So I can reel off all the games, the 80-0 at St Helens. I was there to watch that, and the 84 points that Bradford put on us at our place. We were there through all of those kind of things. So I think that made it so much more sweet when we finally managed to land something and bring that home. So that was great. The next season, backing that up and beating Leeds. I mean, as I say, I've lived in Leeds for nearly 20 years now. So even at that point, I'd lived there a long time, and we got the train down to London from Leeds station with Leeds fans, and living and working around all of those people, and they'd been successful for a number of years at that point, and have been sticking it to us as Warrington fans. So it was quite nice to not just win, but win in the manner that we did in 2010, and then back that up in 2012 with another great performance. I think that we were really kind of showing our pedigree and our ability to kind of turn it on when it mattered at the time, which was, after having a lot of years as a Warrington fan without seeing that, to be consistently competing at the top was very kind of satisfying to see, I think. And then after a couple of poor performances in finals against Hull and Catalan, I mean, credit to them, they both played brilliant and executed their game plans perfectly against us, but we probably underperformed, I think you'd say, in 16 and 18. I think 2019 against Saints might have been the sweetest of the lot. I think we were, I don't think anyone gave us too much of a chance going into that match. Saints, I think, probably thought they had one over us, and I think have a tendency to look down maybe on Warrington a little bit, but I think we've definitely had the wood over them in knockout games recently. I think again the kind of manner of the performance, not having Austin, who'd obviously been our star man up until that point in the season, key man out, sticking a player like Jack Hughes in at standoff, and the players rising to the occasion and controlling the match in the way they did, I think was fantastic to see. So I think they're all the winning cup finals have been, probably all the cup finals have been good memories, to be fair, but certainly the winning ones are obviously that bit more special. And it was a proper family affair, the last one against Saints as well. So I took my the wife as well as my mum and dad and our two young girls came for their first Wembley final. So that was nice to kind of share the experience with all of them as well.
Yeah, even better when you can share it with. They won't even understand the years you had to go through when you were their age, not seeing Warrington win anything.
No. They seem to. There was a couple of seasons that where we kind of had the ascendancy on Leeds as well, so they seemed to get it in their head that Leeds weren't very good and Warrington was somehow a far superior team. So I think I probably milked it a little bit too much in the seasons when Leeds were struggling, when they ended up in the middle eights a couple of times. So they were definitely brought up on that. They've been completely brainwashed. There's no chance of letting them become Leeds fans. Not if I have any say in it, at least.
Good stuff. So your love for rugby league started in Warrington, but now you're heavily involved. You're leading the relaunch of the Rugby League Record Keepers Club. So, what got you to be involved in the Record Keepers Club first of all? Probably
a passion for facts, figures, data, that sort of stuff is something that I've kind of always had. So, I've always kind of recorded scores of matches for myself when I've been, always kind of got programs and enjoyed kind of flicking through that. I'm an accountant by profession, so I guess numbers and that sort of thing kind of come naturally to me, and it's something I kind of enjoy. That's probably stereotyping what accountants do, to be fair, because my day job's not really anything much to do with that, really. But I've always kind of enjoyed and been interested, I guess, in that side of things. And then I suppose always keen to kind of get involved in stuff that maybe pay something back for the game as well. So there were quite a few discussions on social media, probably 18 months to 2 years ago, along the lines of restarting the Record Keepers Club. And what became apparent, I think, was that there were quite a few people who were keen to be involved and keen to support, but probably what it was missing was someone grabbing the bull by the horns and actually trying to wrestle the thing to the ground and get things started again.
Yeah, that's right, because there's great work being done at so many clubs, hasn't there, in the last few years, with lots of clubs coming out with the heritage numbers and that sort of stuff, individual statisticians working on their individual projects. But they needed a ringleader to get everyone together, and you were that man.
It seems that I was, yes. Maybe I blinked first. Maybe that was what it was. But yeah, I think, I don't claim to be any kind of expert on the game overall, or even Warrington, to be fair. There's probably more knowledgeable people about Warrington's history and stats and facts and figures and that sort of thing than me. But I think I probably recognised that it needed someone who was prepared to just kind of try and coordinate the work as much as anything. And that's the role I play more than anything, really, is trying to, it's a big job to make sure that we're kind of getting complete overviews of records, and there's knocking on for 4,000 clubs seasons when you kind of add them all up. So there's a lot of data that kind of needs coordinating and needs someone to kind of administer, I guess, and make sure that we're pulling all of that in. And I quite like that side of things. So it was a case of somebody needed to do it, and in the end I think I got to the point of thinking, well, it might as well be me as anybody else, so let's try and get this thing rolling again.
Yeah, and the project really is about digitising those records and making them available for the members of the Record Keepers Club, and eventually for the public to be able to look through and make sure that they, I guess, can go and look at the first match that they went to check out who the try scorers were, or to look at who has the records for their club or records in certain seasons and things like that. But just sort of briefly, because you talked about the Record Keepers Club going away and then bringing it back. What's the sort of brief history of the Record Keepers Club then, to get